how do you keep it fresh? So what I mean by that is how you wake up Mondays and go, right, lads, let's go again.
It's really important for us to like keep exploring and trying new wines from other people from other regions, just to see where you exist in the water. And again, you're never going to be able to replicate what someone else is doing, but you're like, oh, that's cool. That's a cool technique. That's a fucking cool skill someone did.
What would you say, okay, look, Nick, this is where we want to be in maybe 5 years, 2 years?
Accessibility, but scarcity. So when you see them, you're like, oh, fuck yeah, I've heard of they're good, or I've had them once before. Don't know where I'll find it again.
5. Let's say somebody does want to start a winery. What would you say to them?
Just get your...
Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, where am I looking? We've got thousands of cameras on me today. We have an absolute crack for you today. We have the first, I think, maybe alcoholic business, on the podcast.
Not the first alcoholic.
Yeah. Not the first alcoholic. It's my pleasure to introduce the Austin Winery. To my left, Matt. To my right, Ross, the co-founder Cooper, who's slaving away.
That's typical. Yeah.
Isn't here. But gents, just want to say welcome to the show and really excited to get into it.
Yeah, welcome to Austin.
It's super cool. I've been there a few days and loving it so far. I mean, the opener I want to always, why wine? I mean, straight away, it's love to know why.
The first, and I don't know, I sort of, we'll try not to, we're realists and we're not going to be too romantic, but honestly, I really do feel like wine for us can be like our passport to the world. We both came from international families with soccer, and we sort of see that as like a very democratic, approachable thing. Like there's this false myth of exclusivity with wine, particularly in American culture, that they're like, oh, wine is white tablecloth and exclusivity, which in Europe, particularly continental Europe, that's absolutely not the case. And for us, they talk about soccer, football is, the world sport. Well, wine is sort of, for us, like if you drop me with a soccer ball and a bottle of wine anywhere in the world, that's my fastest way to make friends. It's meant to bring people together. It's not all about the wine necessarily. It's a
experiential drink.
Yeah, and it's an enhancer. Like it makes art better, it makes conversation better, sex, food, everything, right? So we sort of like to have something that we thought could accompany and help, build community. So yeah.
What's the super polished answer? Really polished answer.
Yeah. I mean, purely from a logistical standpoint, it's a sharing vessel. Too.
Yeah.
I mean, you can drink. We recommend you drink bottles of wine by yourself. Yeah. But for the most part, it seems like you should be sharing it with people. You know what I mean? It's not a singular beer.
And as we're also in this time, like we're really kind of very maybe sensitive or aware to this because of in the last year or two that you've seen this big push of sober consciousness or sober curiousness, particularly in younger generations. But also at the same time, ironically, like people don't spend time together anymore. Like we have this sense of community, but it's actually a lot of time on your phones, right? Yeah. Like we talk about, how many people do we actually like spend time with? It's not that many. I'm keeping in touch with a lot of people, but so we talk about also, to Matt's point, the idea of like sharing a bottle of wine. Like when I'm drinking, I can't be talking also. So like I'm at least giving you some room there, right? And so I think like we're kind of pushing like, okay, our wines are usually, we'll get into the production later, but they're usually slightly less alcohol than California wines or a lot of Bordeaux style wines. But so you can drink more of them without having quite as much alcohol. And yeah, I think, there's a balance to all that.
And then anybody who's interested in the bottom line, we were the first and are still the only full production winery in the city limits. So there was definitely a hole in the market.
Yeah. And actually, you'll like this a lot. But so people will be like, no one actually asks, like, how'd you come up with the name of the Austin Winery? Because it's very fucking obvious. Except that it took us, I think, upwards of 3.5 months to come up with that name.
Get out of town.
I mean, that's like to come up with it and then decide to go with it. Like it did take us painfully long to think of it.
Yeah, we're like, oh fuck, we're the first to market. Like
easy.
It's like if you're the first pizza shop in New York, you're not called New York Pizza. Like
Exactly. So gents, how did you come together? Were you all childhood friends? Did you meet on the side of the street? Were you at a wine tasting?
So we are all big football fans. Soccer for the American listeners, I guess. But so Ross, I went to school with Ross at UT, University of Texas, and Ross is a type of guy that knew a bunch of people. I didn't. Ross
is the guy.
Yeah, exactly. And so he had known me through soccer, like we'd known each other, and he met Cooper playing soccer down at Zoker. Cooper's a tinkerer.
Chemistry background.
I don't think you would have had enough tape. Not that it operates on tape, but you wouldn't have had enough tape if you interviewed.
He'd be under
Cooper.
your table.
He'd just be talking. You could get 5 hours out of Cooper. So they kind of had the idea, and then I met them, or like Ross was like, hey, like we knew them from men's league, the Sunday league, and
I was like, we need a third guy,
Yeah.
man. Like, we need a third because if I'm essentially, you know, we all cover so much different territory and a lot of overlap, but we saw this big gap in the market, and Cooper and I were like, okay, we think we should start this thing, and we were like, we can't do it with just two. We need a third person. Because if you really broke it down, if Cooper's really leading production and I'm leading sales and marketing, we need somebody who's running the fucking operations. And it's an extremely, extremely compliant, heavy industry. There's so much oversight and so much like weekly, monthly reporting, alone just like running a regular business of accounts receivable and logistics and all this. And so we're like, that's a full-time position, and we're not the most organized people, or we're flying all over the place. So Matt added some sensibility and a structure, and we sort of kind of went at it with the tripod.
Do you know what's really interesting is that a lot of the founders that come on the show are unsure if they need another co-founder.
Yeah.
And actually, the fact that you said to Matt, like, hey mate, we're going to need number 3.
Yeah.
I think that's really rare because I spoke about this in the other episode where I'm a solo founder, and I'm now thinking, do I need like another co-founder? I've been doing it a year.
Yeah. Do
I need somebody to level up, or is that limiting my belief?
Yeah.
But the fact that you guys, for whatever reason, was like
the foresight, I think.
Yeah. Well, have you started a business before the winery?
Not really. No. Like I did like some little bullshit businesses, like when I was 18.
Yeah.
Like, translating documents for a court or like tutoring, like not real businesses.
No, it's mega foresight though.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think like actually I have dyscalculia, so it's dyslexia, but specifically with numbers. And one thing I heard is that a lot of dyslexic people who are in the leadership positions do well because they don't take on too much, because they're like, acknowledge and accept what you are not good at, and make sure you empower creative people. Like that's been, a good thing, I think, in humility. I've also heard like a lot of people, you can be selfish with your ideas. It's like, oh, this is my baby. This is my company. I'm going to be in control. And you actually stunt the growth because you're not giving it you're not able to provide for it in all the ways that it needs to grow.
I'm hearing what you're saying is leave the ego at the door.
Yeah.
I think that's
like it also like, if Ross stared at a spreadsheet with numbers on it, he'd shit his pants.
Yeah, for sure.
At the same time, I generally don't do press. I'm like, and I understand that I'm grading a lot of the time for people, but I'm not. They don't let me out of the back of the house.
Okay. We've all got our
not like it's forced, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay. They're better at it. Was what I would say.
So the only, guys, this is mega. So the only winery in Austin. Why? Just a question. Why are you still the only winery? Are you just like, why is there nobody else gone looking you? And I'll tell you what, we got to get on that train.
There's a couple. Well, we weren't the only winery there for a bit. So one, it's fucking hard to do. It's hard legally to get licensed as a winery is now not that hard because we've set the precedent for it. But prior to that, like trying to get your forms and your like building and everything approved, like the city people are like, well, we don't have anything in the file under this, so we don't even know. Like I'm at with the fire marshal guy, and he's like, well, first of all, I'm not sure if this is a brewery or what. I'm like, it's a winery.
Yeah.
And he's like, so when he goes, so when you guys cook the stuff, I'm like, no, there's no cooking, man. Like,
there's no pressure involved. It's just, it's natural fermentation.
So there was that
American ignorance.
That one factor. Then real estate in Austin is incredibly expensive. So the cost of sustaining and building out a business, because you can't actually sell any wine. It takes like maybe 3, 6, 9 months to get your building inspected and approved from the federal government, then the state, then the city. So you're already losing money, like legitimately for about a year. You also can't legally make a drop of wine until you're legal.
Okay.
So with the beer, it's a quicker turnaround. So that's why there's much more brewery prevalent in Austin. So like you can just make it as you need it. So you can just start. So, but like wine, the growing season's from like the harvest is in Texas, since it's hotter, it's July to September. So that's the only time you're making wine out of the whole year. I mean, you're doing other stuff.
Your entire year's production is determined by this 8-week period.
So the growth steps are not really like this. It's more like a stepping ladder kind of situation for production.
My immediate gut goes like, what happens if you have a bad year?
Exactly.
then
exactly.
and you don't have, if you haven't got inventory before from previous years, if you
Imagine
haven't
there's
stockpiled, then you're fucked. But then also, like, economically, it's very, very difficult. And then the last part is, if you don't own land, you're also at the sort of mercy of your relationships with grape growers. And for the case for the past 10 years was that there were more people trying to make wine than there were people who were growing grapes. So the grape cost, like a cost per ton of grapes in Texas up to this point, has been more expensive than it is in California by a lot.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's also fucking difficult, because we were also at this point where it's like, yeah, we're trying to convince people they've had a lot of bad exposure or experience with Texas wine. I'd say particularly 10 years past, like, oh, it's all sweet. It's like this sort of touristy thing out in the hill country. It's not really about the wine, right? And we're putting ourselves at the marketplace, trying to focus on the quality of the wine. And that's a big sort of, skepticism to overcome.
So the hill country, you probably are, I don't know if you're aware. So
For our listeners,
basically west of Austin is the Texas wine kind of country.
Okay.
Like that. Bunch of wineries out there, but it's more of like, it's a different aesthetic than
there's a whole range of seriousness and styles of wine, right? So from very sweet wines, right, called like Fat Ass Winery or Fiesta Wine.
Literally, but it's like
those are real names.
They're killing it. Like,
that's not to shit on them,
but they're literally called Fat Ass Winery.
That's their angle, and then there's people who are really like, Francophiles who are like, all right, I'm aging this in new oak for fucking 3 years. People who, those are typically people who made money in another business previously, and they're like, oh, me and my wife want to retire and put a couple $1 million.
More romantic. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but it's sort of like the wine hobby, not the wine business. It's like whereas this is our livelihood, right? So what we sort of saw, we're also kind of big like zaggers. We go against the grain in a lot of different ways, but what we really saw was that hill country wineries were out of sight, out of mind. 10 years ago, if you were to go into down the street at any bar or restaurant, go, do you guys have any Texas wines on the menu? They'd be like, no. And all these wineries out there also, remember, most of them are still buying grapes from other grape growers. So it's like, why would we put our business out in the hill country when our market is here? It's like
especially with Austin being a growing city and like young professionals with money to spend, but that's a whole weekend if you go out there. Now we're in the city, so we're like, it's easier.
Yeah, we're trying to say to people, how are we going to convince people who aren't sure if they even like wine, that think Texas wine is bad, to come out take a whole fucking day off work to come taste wine an hour away?
Yeah,
like that's quite a proposition
with no public transportation.
Yeah, exactly. And so,
Jen's like, this sounds impossible. Yeah, but yet you've been doing it 15 years.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I've definitely heard every new person's approach to wine. Like, I've heard every style of new customer to wine.
Yeah,
having done it for this long. And like people are like, oh, I don't usually drink wine. It's usually like for I thought it was just for Europeans or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I've heard every excuse under the sun why they haven't tried it before. But it is really endearing when you change somebody's mind that hasn't. He's like, I don't drink wine.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome. You're it's like sharing like a new band or genre of music with someone, and then they're just like, dude, have you tried this shit?
Yeah.
And then so that's also like it's empowering. So like what we did is we put ourselves in this approachability context where we're like, all right, if we're going to be the first Texas wine you're going to try, it has to be within your price range, right? It can't be really above $35 a bottle. We want it to be reflective of our culture, like as a not as white man, as young guys in Austin who went to UT, who
I think of our generation, and we're not trying to be something that we're not.
Yeah, so
that comes across. Massively comes across.
So we had a friend of ours like do all the artwork for us, and we want them to be like reflective or enigmatic or emblematic rather of like the wine or the connotation. Like we always kind of do the joke of like, all right, where do you see this wine like getting drank, right? Let's like be evocative, right? Or like the Project Runway, like where's this girl's outfit going, right? What did you design this for, right? So we think about that too. So this approachability, and that's from a price point, from a culture, and physically. We're like, oh, you know, like Texas wine, come 10 minutes away. Come talk to me about it. Like, let's taste. This is going to be easy. Like, wine shouldn't be this structure of like intimidation or something. Like, empower your palate.
Ross, that really resonates with me.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the European thing, but every time we go to, when I go to a restaurant and the wine list comes out, it's like really old, stuffy.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like the Bible. You're looking at this and thinking,
Yeah.
It is the least fun thing ever.
Yeah.
And I only like really one type of wine because that's the
that you know of.
Yeah, that you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, which is like Saint-Emilion.
Yeah, love it.
And that I just love whatever that comes out.
Yeah.
I love drinking it. It works for me.
Yeah.
A little bit of sake, but I know that's not.
I
really,
like sake.
I don't know. If that's in the wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But it is really intimidating. There's no. I feel like it needs to be like youngified. I don't know if that's a word, but like
totally. There's some dust and some like creakiness that needs to be kind of taken out of it. Because especially it's like you're spending your hard-earned money, or the wine list comes to you. You're usually the one fucking paying, right? And so you're with a girl or your family or whatever, and it's like there's some pressure on you, right? You're picking the wine.
That is, why is that?
It's because
a very
like
weird
you're picking
feeling.
their entree. You know?
It's also
It's a responsibility.
It's also sticker shock of, this is going to be a $70-$80 decision, or
and it's not like one drink,
as opposed to one cocktail. I can mess that up, or a beer, right?
Yeah.
So we've committed to it.
Yes.
Right.
No, well said. You can't
and then you're apologizing. How to like you pick a wine? You're like, fuck, guys, I'm sorry. Like, you know,
I mean,
I told an off-color joke. You know,
at the end of the day, it's going to get you drunk either way.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what we tell people for the most part. But the other thing is like, I like to say about us is, and in general with wine, I think that one thing we've done correctly is that, I don't know what like the sailing to, but you kind of lean into the drift. Like, why would I try and make a French winery in Texas? No, let's make it a Texas winery. Yeah. Right. Like also, but like that for me, a Texas winery doesn't have to be Southern sweet. Fat ass winery.
It
right?
doesn't have to be called like Lone Star.
Right. It can have. We have taste down here. We like have access to the internet. We can make it
for now.
Like it's the same reason. It's like there's no way that Bolton is trying to play Barcelona ticky-tacky football, right?
Absolutely.
Right? Why would you do that? We're not that. We're Bolton. We play right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the idea
for the bowling fans out there.
Yeah. And so to that, just to kind of hammer that last bit home, like also you can't order a wine if you can't pronounce it. Right. Texas, we have a lot of most bilingual people here speak Spanish and English. Very little French speaking, right? So a lot of great varietals are French. It's intimidating for these people, and they're like, "I'll have and they just point at it. And you're like, "Fuck, man! Like that's a problem too."
Yep.
So and a lot of the varietals that we plant are Spanish, French, some Italian, but they're not like maybe the 5 main varietals that people typically know.
So we'll know the customer.
So we need to part of also driving that home is like we do a lot of names they call like a fanciful names. The wine is called like Violet Crown, right? It's not called Alicante Boucher, Cabernet Sauvignon.
Not the name of the chateau.
Yeah. Chateau, I can't remember.
We don't have any chateaus.
Yeah. So that's also too. That's about like that approachability and memorability of it too, and something that's sort of
really cool,
evocative. Yeah,
really cool.
Yeah.
Like Jen, so who does the design? You mentioned
it's a friend of ours named Nick Mathis. We send him some wine, and tell him to drink with us when he's in town, and just like it's really amazing. It's one of the most fun parts of the job is when you're drinking wine. You're like, I'm thinking, I think this would be cool, and he's like
on the label.
Yeah, and then he draws up something, totally different and just awesome.
So he does the drawings, and then Ross puts together the rest of the
super cool. Gents, lots to digest. I think something that's hitting me, which we spoke about before the show, was that you are trying just to be unapologetically you guys.
Yeah.
And you're not trying to serve maybe a higher power or this mega North Star of, getting a private equity firm to buy you out, or it's we want to run the business. We love running the business. Do you see that continuing forever? Or
I mean, at the end of the day, we're still businessmen. Like we're not idiot. Like we're not just like happy-go-lucky, whatever.
Yeah,
but like it's also just the type of life you want to live. Like we're able to like do kind of like, I don't know.
There's a lot of
people are good people, and it's most of the time it's a good time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
We sometimes will joke and be like, people are like, oh, running a business, that's so lucky, so fun, or that's got to be scary. And you're like, sometimes, you feel like your life can be like a TV show. We just don't know what genre or network it's on.
Sure.
So we've gone through it all, and the best thing for us too, really, is the community that we've built. Like really amongst one another. Like, I think it's rare for people to say you started a business with people 12 years ago and you guys are all still good friends and on good terms and you actually trust each other, is humongous. That's really great. I think we feel good about the product that we make. Like, yes, it's an alcoholic beverage. Okay. Is it healthier for you than many other alcoholic beverages? Yes, it's still alcohol.
Yeah.
You can fuck that up.
Yeah.
You know, you can have a bad time with that for sure. But our product also has really low carbon footprint. It supports local agriculture. You know, if you believe in climate change or any of those effects and you don't want Texas to get any hotter than it is, then you should probably support Texas agriculture. You know, the logistically, like, we're not, being distributed by Amazon and shit like that. Like, the money is going back into the community.
Yeah, and mostly, like, if you're going to run a winery of the size that we run it, which is very small, boutique, it's still technically boutique, I believe.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We haven't gotten to the small level winery yet. But you're really only dealing with local purveyors, like, you know what I mean? So you like local wine shops, people that have started, but so you're meeting people in similar situations as yourself. You're just trying to make an honest living.
What would you, gents? What would you change like tomorrow if you guys all gone through and went, look, lads, we need to change this like now? What would it be? Something about the industry or about the business itself?
About the business itself, rent is too damn high.
Yeah.
So we would just move the production slightly further away and
I wish we owned our building.
Yeah, essentially that. Yeah.
Like, but that was the other crux is like when you start this business, say you need $500,000, which is in the wine world, that's fucking nothing, you know? But our other option, and a lot of people were like, oh, why don't you start a second business, a holding company, raise money for real estate, buy the building, then you rent it to your other business. And we're like, I get it, but that's just a fucking.
If my grandmother was had wheels, she'd be a bicycle.
Yeah, exactly. We're like, we just want to get our business started here. Like, we're not, and of course, hindsight being whatever, then of course that would have been a great play. But that aside from basically in 10 years paying over $2 million in rent for a sheet metal warehouse that you build out.
Wow.
That aside, we're happy.
Okay.
If you're listening to this,
industry wide, I really love, like, most, like, on the production side, wine people are great people.
Yeah,
they're happy to it's much more of an exchange. Like, we can hey, take all my wine and give me all your wine. Like,
there's no secret barbecue.
You do run into a bit of ego on the retail side.
Yeah,
okay.
People that list that you're describing that's very overwhelming. That is somebody's ego right there.
It's like a radio DJ.
I love that.
Think
what I mean?
Like we're throwing mixtapes at BBC
radio,
One,
the
and
radio
they're like,
DJs. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's kind
they're
of.
like,
great.
Texas.
What a great analogy.
But also, they are important to the industry. So, like, you just.
But they've never made a fucking wine or a song, right? Like, I say, like, we're filmmakers. Think of a sommelier as somebody who went to film school, who writes for Variety, who it's like, okay, they know this encyclopedic knowledge of film. They've never fucking made one. Yeah. They've never been in a clipping room.
We'd love to have them come out and help.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because wine, you need a lot of manual labor. So come hang out. Like,
and people are like, oh, why aren't you guys sommeliers? We're like, well, because say if we're talking about the film analogy, say we just make slasher films. Okay. Right. Like, I don't need to watch The Sound of Music necessarily. Like, sure.
Gents, one thing I love asking founders on the show, because we have a lot of listeners that are looking to leave their 9-to-5s and start something. We call that founder curious on the show.
Oh, I like
and it's great because I think there's a little entrepreneurial muscle in everybody.
Yeah.
Whether or not they're entrepreneurs or not is different. But the question is, so what would you be saying to these people that they're 9-to-5? Let's say somebody does want to start a winery. Let's say somebody wants to start a brewery.
Right.
What would you say to them as advice to make that first step?
We did this. I thought this was really, really important, is you kind of audit businesses in that industry, like just with open eyes, and go there and be like, hey, I'm thinking about starting a business in this industry.
Yeah.
Here's what looks like is working for you. Is that true? And have you got any advice of speed bumps or pitfalls that I should be aware of?
Because I think most people in what I was talking about before the program, in the tangible, like, we give you wine, you give us money type industries, or a brewery for that matter, if you go ask them questions, they'll be happy. They'll probably make you more depressed. But
but
whereas the people in the industries that we're talking about, where like the reason you started the podcast, where like another AI or a tech founder, they're coming to you telling you exactly what to do, and it's like, hey, I didn't ask for that information. You should be doing this. Like they're putting it. That's all part of the facade, I think.
Yeah,
and I think in much more like businesses like this, just go ask questions. Like people are very welcoming for
because we could tell you exactly how we make all of our wines, and you could go try and it'll never come out the same because we do native yeast fermentation. Even if we did things really formulaically, you can never the stars can never realign in the same way. And so that's something that I think Matt's talking about that's really endearing about that. Like there's a sort of health of the industry, sort of even your competitors are actually your allies, you know?
Super rare.
Right.
That's super rare.
Which is a cool thing.
Yeah, that is super rare.
And the customers aren't our enemies.
But,
yeah. But so there is that. Like I think one of the things that is most rewarding is when we go to like wine festivals or fairs, and we meet other producers from lesser known regions, like particularly I'm thinking about like our friends who produce wine in like Michigan, and you taste their wine, you're like, dude, this is fucking amazing. And they're like, right? Like yours is amazing.
And it's much more, it's just good with good people for the most part, you know?
Yeah.
How, you've been in the game a long time, guys. How do you keep it fresh still? So what I mean by that is how you wake up Mondays and go, right, lads, let's go again.
ADHD.
Yeah.
And a lot of wine. No, how do you keep it fresh?
I think we do a good job of, we all consume enough content, whether that be wine or, enjoying hospitality, and actually doing a lot of like education. Continued education is really huge. So you can't just be drinking your own wine. It's like just eating your own cooking. You're going to end up with shit that's too salty, too spicy, because your palate, you've just become like, we call it like cellar palate, right? Okay. And so it's really important for us to like keep exploring and trying new wines from other people from other regions, just to see where you exist in the water. And again, you're never going to be able to replicate what someone else is doing, but you're like, oh, that's cool. That's a cool technique. That's a fucking cool skill someone did. Like,
I would also say that the third founder, we all like outside of wine have decent enough other interests.
To
keep always bringing in something new from a third angle.
Bridging disciplines.
Gents, that is pretty mega, because I feel like at least the sentiment when you build a business is that it's all or nothing.
Right.
That's the feeling I get on other podcasts and other things. That is it. You're zoned in. You're drilled in.
Yeah, you have.
That's it. Nothing else. But actually, what I'm hearing is it's actually quite nice to have maybe that little something on the side, keeping it fresh.
Yeah, because
and you bring that to the business. Don't hide that. Like Matt, particularly I think from being English generally, it's just in his blood, but pub culture is big, right? Matt came in and started and ran trivia nights for us throughout that he writes himself.
Just pub trivia.
Like not like
so English. Yeah. It's great. It's so great.
And like general trivia, but like some of those we would have on a Wednesday night, like when we finally moved to like our second space. Our first space, we started like, just get yourself open. Whatever your business is, don't take out a bunch of loans.
That is another one I would say. Just get open.
Get your ass open.
Money, get revenue going.
And you don't need to raise whatever you need just to get fucking open. And because if your idea is worth nothing, you have to get something on paper and in the flesh, because that's the only way you get to keep owning your company. So we started out, we're in like the shittiest warehouse strip. It's like, where you have to go and they lose your mail. Like it's scary. And we got open and we like made the best of it. We made it work. If you can make good product with shitty equipment, you've earned the right for the next step.
It also applies to the product for that. I mean, like, I love Cooper's wine, but like, I mean, it's gotten better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, it applies.
Too many people want to be famous before they're good at something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Love that.
That's also a really big thing. So
Love
it's like we grew with it, and then like when we take this big leap, and I remember I legitimately, when I signed like the lease for this space and we did the build out, I literally puked after I signed it. I was like, I wouldn't fucking through it.
I mean, you're on the hook for 5 years of rent.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
over $1 million, you know. And
how do you keep cool, gents? Why?
Oh, you lose your cool. You definitely do. But you.
I mean, it's not been all peaches and cream. Like we've had shouting matches and stuff like this. It's never easy.
But what like, you do is you disagree.
Breathe.
Come to terms. Be data driven. Be if you've got like don't check your real thoughts at the door. This is like our shot at the bat, right? Our swing at the plate, you know? And so have conviction, disagree, be data driven, come to a decision, be aligned, and then just be action oriented. Be like, look, all right, that's a good thing about 3 also is, you know, usually if 2 of us are really convinced on something, the other one will turn on it and be like, all right, I disagree, but now that we decided we're going that direction, we're fucking going that direction together.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
like,
for the most part with, I mean, small business in general, so many outside factors will narrow the field of what you're supposed to do pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Like it will not limit your options, but like,
you have to
like, well, we got to do it now. Like that's the only option because it nothing to do with yourself too. So it makes it easier. But like again, it might not be the best path, but
you got to go through the minds of Moria.
What's what do you say to the founders there who are maybe got 2, 3, 4 co-founders that are disagreeing a lot?
You know, we never did this. I know they have like fucking counselors for co-founders.
Behave.
That's where
they really?
Yeah, like it's like a marriage relationship counselor.
Yeah, true.
But you know, if you're disagreeing, you're probably also that's going to cost more money.
Go to therapy.
You know, yeah. But so I know they do have that for one. But okay. I do think like also to take time and have multiple conversations, because there are times you're going to get pissed and walk out the door and go for a ride. Be like, we're going to talk about this later in a different way. Like you can, you know, I think you have to have meetings are crazy. Just fucking have open conversations all the time. If you and I need to fucking work something out, I shouldn't have to put something on your calendar for 2:30. Like we need to like just plant this idea with you right now. We don't have to hash it all out, but like let's hear it. This is important.
But at the end of the day, also, I mean, Ross is CEO, so like I feel like my input is welcomed and appreciated. But at the end of the day, you still have to have that one person in charge.
That's
somebody's
really?
It's somebody's baby.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
But you also, at the same time, from there, it has to be, you have to have departments.
Right. He knows when to shut the fuck up.
You have to be like, look, you're the master of this domain.
Yeah.
Right. And you're the boss of this, and you know, you're the set piece coach. Like that's how it's going, right?
And we don't tell, like I know not to tell Cooper he's the artist, he's the talent, in my opinion. I know not to be like, I don't like how this is tasting. I'm like, that's not my job. Like, I love how it's, like, I've been lucky that Cooper, like, I've liked everything, but, like, I don't really try and comment too much on the actual physical product.
You give.
I have too much to worry about on my own plate.
And that's also an important thing, is, like, being open to criticism. It's like, each of us will be like, all right, here's what I'm working on. What do you think? Here's a couple options. Do you see where I'm going with this? Do you get it?
Yeah.
You know, and that's fine. Like, you just don't be so defensive with your ideas. All right. Like, treat it like you're playing poker. What, you're really only supposed to play like 1 in every fucking 8 hands or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I play more. I lose. But like generally, I think that's a really important thing. Is like, don't be so fucking defensive with your ideas, because when you clutch those things too hard, you stunt the growth.
Ross, it's fucking tough, man. Because when you come up with that idea and you think it's a cracker, and actually it's not, it can be really, like demoralizing.
Look at comedians working their
exactly,
jokes. Like, they
but
fucking
also
mind
at the
that
same
shit.
time, if I brought you in to do a job, I'm trusting you to do that job.
Yeah.
I can't worry about it anymore.
Yeah.
I have so much, if I have my purview, I can't, like, he doesn't worry about spreadsheets.
Yeah.
He knows he shouldn't, because he's got too much else on his plate, essentially. So that's my job to worry about that. Essentially, like, that's,
I got it.
Totally. Yeah,
I
got it.
It's the reverse of that too, as well.
Gents, what would your employers, or employees, I should say about what it's like working at the Austin Winery?
Most of them fucking love it.
Yeah,
It's not just CEO answer.
For real.
They love it.
Yeah,
it's. I mean,
what a great answer.
Not the most, like, I would say professionally run like pub and that. So like most of our employees are hourly staff that work like the tasting room and stuff that generally like working with the customers. So like they're really doing the most like face work of the winery on a day-to-day basis. So like they're very important. It's very important to keep them happy as far as what's the vibe of
make sure
the
they're
customer
supported.
base. Yeah. I mean, used to, like when we first started, we had to rotate and we were just working.
Really?
Yeah. It was,
and then we're in this funny scenario where now, like, we're in our mid-30s. We export our wines to Canada, Hong Kong, Japan. We've gotten some wine in Italy. We're in multiple states. Like, that's really cool stuff. But we're running a fucking business, and people go, I don't never see you in the tasting room anymore. I'm like, yeah. I've got a pregnant wife, man. I'm like trying to.
That's the other thing. Whenever they ask me, like,
let see you around.
My hourly employees, whenever they ask us stuff, I'm like, I don't know. You work here. Like, I don't work here. You work. Like, this is your space. I want you to take charge. Like, we give them as much. Like,
we definitely do not micromanage.
No, exactly.
So I get that feel from you.
Yeah,
you don't. You empower.
Yes,
I think.
exactly.
It's the same.
It's a family too. So like we try and at least once or twice, like once a month, have like family dinner and like hang out.
We
and
take
get drunk.
good care of.
Do you know, Matt? That's super interesting because I read a lot online about how if you want to run a business, you cannot make it a family.
Right.
Yeah, they don't. People are like, no, this is your job. That's your thing. We're high performing. We're not a family. Because I think family emotions get into it, a little bit of ego, and I think it can be quite messy.
Right.
Yeah, especially when people get let go after they've been told their family.
Yeah.
How do you guys manage that? Because
it's you're not brothers and sisters. It's parents and children.
Yeah,
like you have to like.
There's a line.
You have to maintain a sense of authority. Yeah. Which is like, because when people think of a family, it's like everybody's just family, like brothers and sisters. Like, no, somebody's still in charge.
Yeah.
Somebody's.
I love that angle. I know. I see what you're saying.
So, like, they're appropriately afraid of me, but they still love me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they know it's more of a I like to, like, one of my greatest, like, what I feel about my strength is my employees never want to disappoint me. They're not scared of me. They just don't want to disappoint me.
And we've never had somebody leave the winery because they didn't like it. We've only had people leave because they've moved up.
Yeah.
Right? Which is great.
That's mega. That's great stuff.
That's also, this will sound very CEO-y, and I'm well aware, but when we first put the winery in Austin, we thought we were bringing a winery to Austin for people to engage and try wine. We didn't realize how much of like a career opportunity we were bringing, because hospitality in Austin has grown a lot. It's quite serious. There's, Michelin star rated restaurants, but you can kind of hit your head on the ceiling in hospitality. If you start as a bartender or a server, a GM is sort of kind of where you go, right? If you're really interested in the wine, you kind of had to leave. Right, the city in general, and so we've had a lot of people start as interns or working in the tasting room, fall in love with wine. One girl runs a winery in London called Black Book Winery. Yeah. We have one girl who moved to South Africa. We have
that's great. That's lovely.
Yeah,
that's lovely, gents.
I mean, the total purview of the number of people over the course, like employees that we've had, is less than 50 over the course of 11 years.
Yeah,
so like we don't.
We go to
bat. Work there for a while.
We go to bat for our employees too. We try and offer them like good education, good exposure, good support, but also like trusting them, because we wouldn't have hired these people if we didn't trust them.
That's
with
the
our
number
customers.
one thing. My number one thing is trust.
Yeah,
really.
So
it's all it is. It's trust.
What do you say? What do you say to somebody starting out a business that struggles with that?
Oh,
just go to therapy.
Yeah. That's
I mean. Trust because you're like, I have to. It's more of a sense of like, the building's not going to burn down.
Yeah.
Right. Priority one. Like, and you're not going to steal.
Right.
I mean, basically, like another point that Ross was probably going to make is that it turned into a wine bar. Yeah. Like we run a dive wine bar. It makes its own wine.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's pretty sick, guys.
And the number one thing in service industry, anybody should do is be on time and don't steal.
Okay.
And then, and stealing includes don't get drunk, because that's stealing from me. But just don't get too drunk, right?
Yeah.
And that's very easy. Just be on time to your shift. Don't take my money, and I trust you to make judgments about customers. Like it's very easy.
Yeah. Represent yourself. Like there was this guy. So whenever
it's very easy to be good at it.
Whenever we go like visit other markets that carry our wine, like for instance, we were at there's this great wine shop in New York in Bushwick called Star Wines. This Italian guy with his kid tasting, a real Italian guy, and he's like, "Oh, this Texas wine is great. This is a wonderful representation of Italian varietals." And anyway, so I'm like, "Oh, I'm flying back to Texas. I can't buy any other wine, but I'm like, let me buy a shirt, and I want to buy one for Cooper or Matt And he's like, I'll mail that one to you. I'm out of stock or whatever. He mails it to us and he goes, Ross and Cooper and Matt, here's the shirt. Thank you for your support. Remember, when you wear this shirt, you're not just representing yourself, but my business. So please don't be a dick. And I'm like, that's fucking great, dude. Like I was like, that's awesome. You know, when you're here, you're representing, you're just being an ambassador for yourself first, always. But also remember, like, there are people who put time into this larger structure that like take care. You know, so
I would say the most common question besides "Is it just wine here?" at the customers coming in is, "What's the story?"
Right.
And that's people all just like, because you can go to the supermarket's very like, you're just picking something, like, unless the guy in the wine department's helping you and tells you all about it. But at the end of the day, you're really just taking a gamble. And so people are coming in to hear like, oh, I learned something, and also I met these guys. And then they can brag about it and be like, oh, and I learned this. So
yeah, but that is sort of the thing. There is this like level of intimacy that we try and offer. That's like, education is free. We don't charge for like tours of the winery. Our winery is also not big enough that if I walked you in a circle around my 5,000 foot facility, you'd be like, how'd you pay for that?
So, with you.
What in your head? What's your favorite pub in the UK?
Oh Christ, it caught me off guard.
But what do you like? What do you consider a good pub in the UK?
Matt Cracker.
Your ideal girl.
Yeah.
I think my ideal pub would be something on the river.
Okay.
Has a garden.
Yep.
Has a mix of local beers and foreign.
Okay. Yeah.
Customer services through the roof.
Yep.
I can immediately think of one called the Pride of Spitalfields.
Okay.
I went there and it was like walking into an EastEnders set.
Gotcha.
That was like, all right, how you doing, darling? I was like, hello. And they're all like, you know, almost a bit family-esque.
Yeah. Okay.
And something, I don't know, coming closes at 11, 12, you know, I don't know, quite, I don't like anything like a new, you want to, sometimes there's a great thing about, it's like stepping into somebody's living room. That's what.
It's a fucking washer machine over here.
So something on the river, maybe a sun trap. But, you know, that being said, when I worked in the city, the best ones were so small, cheek by jowl, really intimate. They had 3 ales.
Are you chatting with the barkeep?
Oh, yeah. Got to chat with the bar. The barkeep's great. Always goes away from, and I was like, here. And
it's like, at the end of the day, like, I mean, granted, a lot of our business is wholesale and like expanding
we'd love to sell all of our wine right here.
Yeah. But your best margins person to person, like by the glass.
And that's our
Is that so? I don't know.
Yeah, that's our best margin because
So we'll just do the math for you. Say on average a bottle of red wine maybe costs us maybe $5 to $6 to produce. Okay. Glass, bottle, cork. Now it took us over a year to do this, right? So there's a lot of rent and people involved there that doesn't account for that
physical margin.
So this retails for $30. Okay. So let's say, you know, or for the math, say $35, right? So $5 to $35 on the bottle. We wholesale it for $13 or $14 a bottle. Okay. So then the retailer, they've got room to mark it up. By the glass, it's $10 a glass
in the winery.
Oh wow!
Right? So that's already covered your.
But there's 6 glasses in here, right? So that's $60 we're getting out of it.
Yeah.
Then if we're doing tastings, a tasting is 3 half glass pours. Now it's a glass and a half is $20.
Yeah.
So
wow.
Because but
so
it's more service.
Sure.
And you're also getting the experience of being in the winery.
And you're trying different wines and you're getting education on it too. But you're like, okay, the margins, if you look at it from that perspective, that's fucking attractive.
Yeah. You know? That is super attractive.
Yeah. There's, you know, so anyway, that's sort of the margins of okay, we love to serve all of our wine ourselves, you know.
Yeah.
But to your point of the things that you loved about all those pubs, one thing you'll notice, and Austin's gotten better about this, it's better about it than most other big cities in Texas, is our state is so big. The real estate, the footprint of all restaurants and bars is massive. So it's not like in New York, one of the things that we love about that is you can get a bar that's slightly larger than this, just a long slip, right?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're trying to visualize. Yeah.
So it's hard to make really niche businesses or bars because it has to appeal to, we need to fill 120 seats every night.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I can't have like my Caribbean rum exclusive bar that's just like this, you know? And so making our winery, though it's a rather large place, it's production and service, making it feel intimate without trying to turn a warehouse into a cottage was something like it took us like our culture, like it took us bringing in the shit that we like.
And I appreciate the garden aspect of it too.
Yeah.
It is Texas, so it's not the most. But so we have a lot of greenery inside.
Yeah, all these like
so like it's
things,
it like this type of vibe inside with metal and stuff. So like you kind of these elements that you would want out of a good drinking space. We've tried to put that into the winery.
But I'll give you a really funny one. Like when you get like bad reviews, right? So like one thing people actually typically compliment on us because they'll go, "Oh, I came here. I read the reviews, but I sorted by the worst." And who responds to the reviews? Because that person's fucking hilarious.
He goes at them.
And so like they come to a trivia. Matt did this whole trivia. I think it was either Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones trivia. And this couple, I remember the couple too. They're nice looking people, and they asked about a wine. They picked a bottle of two options. They didn't do a tasting. They're like, "Can we try one of these two?" "No, that one." And they taste it, have a bottle, leave midway through the trivia. The review is 0 gas station wine with IKEA furniture. Also, trivia guy doesn't know dick, but it's D exclamation mark. Like, I was like, so I responded, I'm like, who wants to drink gas station wine with IKEA furniture? Like, and so I responded, I'm like, first of all, you guys picked that wine after you tasted it. IKEA furniture is very durable. Like,
I'll tell you another advice.
And I was like, and you're a dick. Like,
fantastic. CEO,
the trivia is free, by the way.
Yeah, I will say
like, you sound fucking cheap.
Another piece of advice I will give to anybody trying to start: the customer is not always right.
Yeah,
they are not always. They don't work there.
Defend your staff.
They like.
Oh, big one.
Yeah,
big one, Ross.
They're like right a good amount of the time. Like at the end of the day, it's about their experience, but they're not always right. That gets conflated quite a bit.
Really?
Yeah.
Especially in wine.
Yeah.
Especially in wine. These people.
You're selling a feeling as well a bit.
These fucking egos, dude. Like they'll come in and be like, "Oh, you guys like wine? I've got a huge cellar of wine." You're like, "Oh, do you?"
Okay.
And they're like, "Yeah." You don't even ask what they've got in it, but then they'll tell you, they go, "Got a bunch of Napa cabs, all cabs, like 1,000 of them." You're like, awesome.
Like, it's
Okay.
I love that for you.
What a weird flex.
Yeah.
It's like trying to outwine each other.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, completely.
I own the winery.
Yeah.
Come on, pal.
I can give you a bottle of wine for free.
I got a cellar too.
You can't give me a bottle of wine. Yeah.
I literally own the winery.
Yeah.
Gents, I'm really curious to ask the tariffs.
Yeah.
Is that affected you guys lately, or have you pivoted? How have you managed that?
I would say, okay, so a lot of stuff, bottles and or like bottles, and then kind of secondary like this. They come a lot of time from China or Mexico, so that's kind of messed up that kind of supply train. The wine is obviously Texas wine, so that's not really affecting grapes.
Yeah.
It has driven up like gas and that type of like trucking has gotten more expensive because they're feeling that from other places, right?
Yeah, their trucks are less full.
Obviously, the president doesn't control gas prices, but it's still other factors are affecting trucking, and that's caused that to go up. And then I will also say that I feel like people are drinking more given the current political.
I agree.
Big scoop.
Definitely
big scoop.
Yeah, zagging back. So
that is really.
The New York Times was pushing, and like I, love the New York Times as much as any other whatever, but like they were pushing this big, sobriety thing. Like you were seeing this all over, and they're like, alcohol could be linked to testicular cancer, and it's like non-secular.
Nobody cares anymore.
And all this
I
shit.
feel like nobody gives a fuck. Nobody cares.
Yeah. But
and then they've put the French wine's gotten a little bit under the gun.
Yeah,
it has helped in that aspect of competitors.
But
okay,
so here to the actual like trade side of it, aside from like the cost of goods sold and all, like we lost all of our Canada business. We did almost like $100,000 a year to a couple distributors in Alberta, Manitoba. Great people. This is not their decision. Also, it's their government. Technically, the Liquor Control Board of Ontario. They purchased the wine on behalf of the distributor. They've said categorically, we're not buying any alcohol from America until this gets resolved. So even if they wanted it, even if they were going to pay the tariffs, zero, dog.
Yeah.
Zero. So
he soured the relationship.
Yeah.
Really?
And they're all, and then the other thing is, then you have to go from a cultural side, like these Canadians they're nice people, but they're fucking sensitive too about this shit. And I heard that some of them, I was talking to one of our distributors up there, and she goes, yeah, the other thing is when this comes back, a lot of people are like, I won't buy things from Texas because they're a
Red state.
a conservative state.
Really?
And I'm like,
Is that
that's not me.
Yeah.
You know?
is that the knock-on effect?
Yeah, which is crazy. Look, you're not.
It's intangibles.
This goes back to people representing where they're from. You know,
Yeah, it's intangibles.
We all look like
people
us.
are like, oh, it's not that bad. He's like, yeah, but everybody fucking hates us now.
Yeah. So there's that, but then we're trying to be like water, and there will be more opportunity in the short term, and I would never vote or act just for our own well-being. There will be some opportunity domestically for people to try Texas wines because French wine's going to be 145% more expensive.
Yeah.
So that opportunity cost, there will be a short-term benefit in that regard for us.
Correct.
That we'll step into and do well and represent, but it's not the way I wish that it was. And there's also all these other grounds, like, I took a whole fucking trip to Japan last year to sell them wine, and then this gets hit, and you're like, okay,
great.
So, yeah, great.
Not doing that anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I've been taking Japanese, man.
Mondays at 4.
Yeah.
I do a lingo.
What's the vision then, I think, longer term here? I mean, you've been doing it 15 years. I think it's super cool how it sounds sort of, and correct me if I'm wrong, sounds more of a lifestyle business, but also ambitious enough to have an exit at some point.
Yeah. Agreed.
But what would you say? Okay, look, Nick, this is where we want to be in maybe 5 years, 2 years.
Yeah, we want to grow. Like we do want to step into this role of being the first Texas wine that people try at large. That doesn't mean that I want to be like the White Claw of Texas.
Yeah, I don't
wine.
want to be in every Walmart.
We want like healthy scarcity. We want our wines to be like when you see you may see them in a select few shops or well-to-do bars or cool local spots, like accessibility but scarcity. So when you see them, you're like, oh fuck yeah, I've heard of they're good, or I've had them once before. Don't know where I'll find it again.
Because it happens in America. It happens. Well, also you probably experienced it with ales more.
Well, man, I was just about to say there was a beer called Big Wave back in the UK by Kona Brewery. I think.
I've been to Kona Brewery. Yeah,
there we go. The Big Wave, and I remember there was only a pub that did it in the city back when I was in insurance, and I would go back to that pub. I was like, this is the fucking shit.
Actually, it's like an amber.
Yeah, it is Big A. It's a Big Wave. Yeah, so good.
It is good. Actually,
it's really good.
What I was telling you, I'm from like I go to South Devon quite a bit. Otter Brewery is one of my favorite. You cannot get an Otter Brewery anywhere else except for South Devon and Cornwall. Like you need to be known within a region.
Yeah.
And that way, either when people come, they're like, "Oh, I got to get that when I'm there."
And that's also that's not just our ambition, but that's also the reality of making wine in Texas. Right. The weather is so fucking crazy and variable. We don't own the vineyards, so we're also kind of at the mercy of some of that. Though we have really good relationships and interest, the things can change. And so for us, there is that sort of finite to it that also adds to the romance and to the appeal of it. That being said, we'd love to be like three times the size that we are, be able to have less like vulnerability. Like we would love to be taken on by a beverage company that owns small family of brands that like gives us a little bit more buffer, a little more like a little less risk, right?
Firepower.
Yeah, exactly. And like lets us keep our jobs or pays us enough that you walk away and can do it again if you want.
Well, why haven't you entertained that yet?
Because I think we've been in the hard growth mode for a while, and we've had like good successes, a little bit of like regression and then good growth again.
And I think we honestly probably got, I wouldn't say the most unlucky of any type of industry, but like specifically in our trajectory, 2020 was going to be a big year for us.
COVID,
and it really timed kind of poorly. Like, I mean, people have had it way worse. We all have our good health, and we were able to maintain our jobs. We didn't have to let anybody go throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, that was fucking good.
Wow,
it definitely was like a kickback right at the jumping off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like
we were fucking booming.
It kind of hurt. Particularly for us.
And have you recovered now?
Yeah, we just have gotten our momentum back.
People came out of COVID drinking like it was the end of Vietnam. Like it was just doing Quaaludes, like all that type of, you know what I mean? Like it was great. Like 21 and 22 were great. it's like it definitely brought us back, but I still think it knocked us back. And then 23, 24 people realized they're like, oh
People
shit,
cut back on
I need to
drinking
think
a
about
ton.
the rest of my life again.
So people cut back on
Yeah.
drinking a ton, and we were like, right before that, we were like, we need to invest heavily to increase our production so that we can expand and distribute. Because what happened was we were selling a ton through our best margin point at the winery and the tasting room, but then COVID happened, zero.
Yeah.
So the model flipped.
I think
I had to go out and do all wholesale.
Yeah.
So then it's like, all right, now we need both of these things together to do well.
Over the last 5 years, I think there's been 2 overcorrections.
Yeah.
And I think we've gotten back to
It's a good
regular
way
point,
to say it.
essentially.
Okay, so this
Yeah.
is
I think
almost
we're
like
back
a
to
renaissance.
normalcy. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I think too, it's like, you know, you want to be we've worked so fucking hard for this. You want to
I could feel it, by the way.
yeah, you want to
Just
have
let
it in its best state, right?
listeners
But,
can
like,
feel it.
yeah, so like I think we are kind of feel like we're triumphing in a lot of ways. We're proud of the wines that we put out, proud of our team, and next weekend or this weekend is going to be our 11th birthday for the winery.
Yeah.
What's going on? What's happening? A quiz?
Vinyl DJ.
yeah, he's DJing. Matt'll be
Gonna just
debuting.
make people listen to the music that I like. It's gonna
Yeah,
be good.
exactly.
Yeah.
Drink the wine,
and get drunk.
pizzas,
Yeah.
oysters.
Oh, that sounds great, gents.
Yeah.
it'll be good.
I guess I haven't actually asked you what type of grapes that are in the wines. I haven't actually
Don't-
asked them.
Just drink it.
Yeah.
So give us a rundown here. Give us a rundown. They've got 2 bottles here for the people not viewing and listening on.
Yeah, so Chirasuolo, that's a
Okay, so we've got
it's a
the
style.
orange.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's like it's not a rosé. It looks like a rosé,
Okay.
but it actually is a very light red wine.
Okay.
It's aged in a sandstone amphora, which is really beautiful, soft textural note. Think like cherries and whipped cream. It's Italian varietal Sangiovese and Graciano, but it's fucking lovely. Like cigarettes and the beach.
That's it.
You can have like an anchovy pizza with that on the beach, fucking olives, fire. So super delicious. Clams of pancetta, awesome.
Yeah.
Then
And what is it? And before what is this retail at?
30?
30 or 32.
27 to
Yeah.
30, depending on where
You
you're
can
at.
buy them in a case, usual stuff.
Yeah.
Discounts for bulk
Okay.
purchases.
Okay.
Violet Crown, this is like, we call this like dad wine or like mom wine, right? Mother-in-law stuff, like something that like, especially in natural wine, you'll see a lot of light color in wine, high acid wines, and you don't see a lot of like heavily extracted, rich, full-bodied traditional wines.
Okay.
So
Why is that?
it's for a couple of reasons. One, economically,
Okay.
natural winemakers typically are young, early starting businesses. They can't afford to take the time to age to make red wine. Red wine grapes are also more expensive typically.
Hell, no.
Two, they also usually don't have oak or like all these other equipment that makes time for maturing. They just don't have the means to do. Since we've been doing it fucking 11 years, we get to kind of be assholes now, and we're like, yeah, we can make fucking like cool traditional wines, you know, that our dads like too. So
this to the layman, I would just say, if you are invited to a dinner party
yeah,
and you need to bring a bottle of red wine, this is the one that you bring.
Yeah.
Love that. I
Okay.
always like selling the emotional, the scenario, or
Yeah,
the feeling,
yeah.
rather than
this
it's
is your
got
safe. This is your
you know
safe.
Tempranillo, Cabernet
Yeah,
Sauvignon,
exactly.
and Alicante.
So Ross is very good for describing every type of food that you would have in a Mediterranean diet.
Yeah,
with
yeah,
the wine.
Fantastic.
And I tell you the functionality of it.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
I love the anchovy pizza,
Yeah,
cigarettes,
I also-
man.
maybe some Camel Blues. Or something like
You
that. Yeah,
can paint a picture. I
Yeah.
can deliver. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we
So,
do that.
And it's kind of fun, like all the different wines that we make too. Like again, with this analogy, we think about like if you're you and your friends make a band, like you're not necessarily trying to make a hit single, right? You're trying to make a full set list,
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, and Texas wine, because of the variety and the change of the weather so often and how many different varietals we make, it's best for us to have a diversity, a long breadth and width of wines, because we also want to sell the tasting room experience. When you come to the wine, if we only have 2 or 3 wines, like it's going to be stale, you know?
I get that.
So for us to be able to have this, like, you know, we're putting out like basically an album with 13 songs on it. Like there's going to be some great shit in there, but it also gives us room to have a lot of expression, right? And so that means we can have a dad wine on there, and we can have something that's super funky too, and like it actually fits together.
Yeah.
Super cool. Well, gents, we're just nearing the end.
Yeah.
But I just, is there anything that I've missed that you wanted to potentially speak about on the pod, or anything coming up you think actually, guys, listeners would love to?
If you're in
engage in?
America, come see us. Shoot us a message. We'll tell you where we're at if you're in a city that carries our wines. San Diego, New York.
If you're in a restaurant,
Yeah.
buy bottles of wine rather than buy the glass.
Yeah,
Ooh.
that's
Love
wait, that's a great trick for everybody. You guys want to know why wine is so expensive by the fucking glass in a restaurant? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Typically, the rule is whatever they paid for the bottle, that's the cost of the glass.
Behave.
So-
Really?
Yeah,
They cover it because they got to dump it out
Of
if they
course.
don't sell it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's one and done
Yeah.
type thing,
Yeah.
potentially. Yeah.
potentially.
Potentially.
but
Yeah.
they've
I'm just
been bad
giving you
at
guys
their
a pro
job.
gamer tip.
So
Yeah. GG.
remember that if it's $16 by the glass, they bought the bottle for 16. Go ahead and buy the bottle for 42 rather than
Yeah, and
whatever.
you can always most of the time cork it and take it home if you don't finish it.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
most of the time finish it.
It looks
Finish it.
cooler too to
It'll
have
make
the
the food
bottle
better.
too.
Yeah, it
Learn a
does.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, look, guys, thank you so much for that. This is the period in the show where
We flip it.
you flip it. You get to ask me a handful of questions.
Yeah.
Nothing's off limits. We've got about 5 minutes left, so we run over a little bit. But yeah, feel free to ask me anything if you've got anything, obviously. Some people don't, but
Dream guest?
oh, great question.
He's a Mia Khalifa.
Yeah.
My
Where
friends
are
did have her on their podcast. So
Dream guest, I don't, do you
or
know
like,
what?
I guess in this scenario you wouldn't know who it was.
We wouldn't.
Right?
We don't
this
know.
Type of podcast.
The whole premise of the show is finding real founders, gritty,
Yes,
right,
gritty,
exactly.
gritty
So
stories,
You're not going to know.
all unfiltered.
They're not going to be famous.
They're not going to be famous.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me. I just want to empower people and give people a voice to speak
he
about.
came to Austin to meet Elon. Okay.
Do you have anybody you model like who? Do you have like an interviewer that you enjoy
Who's
how
your
their
favorite-
line of
Who's
questioning?
your favorite player? And if you
Yeah.
say the Hot Wings guy, he's the
Yeah,
worst.
yeah.
He's the worst.
He's good.
I think he's the
Do-
worst interviewer.
Do I have a favorite interviewer? I'm really good at knowing what I don't want to be.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, that's
So
yeah,
I don't want to
that's
be.
how Matt makes his friends. Is he's
Yeah.
based on what we don't like.
Yeah, so I don't want to be Stephen Bartlett, Diary CEO. I don't
Yeah.
want to open with what was your biggest struggle.
yeah,
And you're like,
yeah.
fuck. Okay, really, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't want to be that. I want it to be fun. I want it to be casual. I want it to be relatable.
Uh-huh.
I think this has been a really
Yeah.
easy listening to you. I haven't sat here sweating going, fucking hell, this is tough.
Fishing,
But like, so yeah, I just think conversational. I think that's my style. I feel like I can talk to most people. But yeah, I don't know. Not him. Scott Galloway, not him. I listen to him quite a bit. I think like Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's way too long for me. He's like 3 hours smoking
Fucking
weed.
hell,
Like,
I know.
so do you think there are aliens out there? And you're like, fucking hell, let's just talk about the wine, can we?
Yeah.
There are.
Yeah.
So no, that maybe That's a good question though, man.
And then he's going to Greece
yeah, I'm
next
gonna.
month. You got travel tips for Greece?
You got to Mykonos.
Yeah, but I've been to. I actually went to Greece every 2 years for
You
2
didn't
weeks.
tell me that.
From when I was like 8, 10, 12,
I don't
14.
remember that,
So,
There you go.
but I was like, a fucking kid. So,
Yeah.
Well, no, it's great.
I'm excited. I've got 2 nights out in Athens. So,
Have you really?
yeah.
Well, let me know. When are you there?
June
Middle
the
of June.
17th to
Fine, okay,
the
I'm
28th or something.
I'm not there, but I will give you some
Please.
name. The Seven Jokers
Okay.
is an unbelievable bar in
Cool.
Athens.
All right.
It is only local Greeks. They're all failed actors.
Oh,
So they get in there and
Perfect.
you can hear them and they're talking about like, oh, it's fucking indelible, this, and then you're there and you're like, this is epic. It is also really small,
Okay.
beautiful layout design. There's like illuminated bottles at the back.
Great.
It's super niche,
Nice.
and it's just
Perfect.
off St. Douglas Square, which is the main square.
Okay. Lovely. Well, that's perfect for me.
But no, but gents, thank you very much, Matt Ross. It's been an absolute pleasure.
yeah.
I've really enjoyed it. I think we're gonna have some lunch.
It's
we'll
Cinco
go.
de Mayo
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well,
Oh,
so
yeah,
we're gonna have
we're
to
gonna
get you a
do
fucking margarita.
What the
Yeah.
fuck?
Yeah, it's Independence from
It's a white person's
France.
Hispanic holiday.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Well, gents, thank you so much for going on.
Yeah, cheers,
Thank
bro.
you.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks, lads.